The movie opens with two swordsmen in iron helmets, fighting against each other. What is peculiar is that they are both wearing modern clothing. Meanwhile, a group of armed men storm the area to reach the swordsmen. When they finally get into position, it is already too late. Both of the swordsmen are able to bury their swords in one another, causing their foes to perish. 15 years later, two masked men break into a vault holding a green glowing orb. Their third companion, Blades, enters the vault, and they start looking for some valuable coins. The two are hauling the coins they came for, as Blades grabs a hold of the green glowing orb. The leader, Rylick, reproaches him not to mess with anything. He absent-mindedly apologizes, and lets go of the orb. It hits the ground and shatters in an instant. A green glowing smoke emits from the remnants of the orb and possesses Rylick, and it instantly destroys him. The smoke then possesses Blades, but it does not destroy him. We follow the story of Nolan Parthmore. He is just a regular guy working in a game store. His friend Lewis gets heated up over a board game because their customers do not know how to play. Nolan lets him calm down and patiently introduces the game to the customers. He gives them the background of the board game, which will be relevant later on. During the Dark Ages, there are 4 nobles who had sworn to defend against the forces of evil, the Devil's Apostles. These are 12 immortal evil souls that possess humans. The only way to stop them is by using the 4 helms of the 4 noblemen. These helms were created by a sorcerer who gave the men strength and the ability to open the rift between earth and purgatory in order to imprison the evil souls. When evil breaks loose, it is up to the descendants of the 4 noblemen to protect the world. Corbin found out what happened to his vault and arrives at his house. Vickers leads him to the vault and shows him the unmoving body of the leader of the robbers. Corbin notices that one green orb is missing and knows that evil is on the loose. He decides that it is time to let one of the descendants fulfill their duty, as he is also from the bloodline of one of the 4 noblemen and is in the possession of one of the legendary helms. Pavlov, the robber that survived, brings the weak Blades into the bar where their organization operates. He tells the boss about what happened and shows that Blades is still possessed by the green smoke they encountered. Nolan and Gabby are playing around with fake swords in the game store when a package comes in for him. Vickers is disguised as a delivery man and hands him a package from Corbin. Gabby opens the package, and inside is a helm, passed down from one of the 4 nobles. His friends urge him to try it on, and the moment he puts it on, he feels a weird sensation. At the same time, Blades feels a signal that a descendant of the noblemen is around. He can see what Nolan sees through the helmet. Nolan takes off the helm and falls weakly to the ground. At first, his friends think that he is just playing around, but when they realize that something is wrong with him, they hurriedly help him out. Blades informs the organization about what he saw, but everyone at the bar has no idea what he is talking about. The boss gives the command to attack him, but he overpowers them with the ability of the evil spirit. The boss shoots him down, and he falls to the ground. They think that he is defeated, but he suddenly gets up and beats everyone up. An ambulance arrives for Nolan, and a group of men wheels him on a stretcher. He realizes that one of them is Vickers, disguised as one of the response teams. Out of nowhere, Blades jumps on top of his stretcher, but before he can attack Nolan, Vickers shoots him with a laser whip gun. His men do the same, but this only stops him temporarily, as Blades breaks through the laser whips. Gabby helps Nolan out of the stretcher, and they run for the game store as Vickers distracts Blades. Before they can get it, Kate closes the door and instructs him to put on the helmet. Nolan cannot believe her, but Vickers yells the same thing. When Blades finally beats Vickers, Nolan is left with no other choice. He puts on the helmet and immediately starts getting weak. Kate assists him, wielding the sword. The moment Blades sees him, he runs away. Nolan falls unconscious on the ground once more. He wakes up at Corbin's mansion on edge. Corbin tries to assure him that he is in a safe place, as Vickers keeps him in his sharp tongue in line. Kate and Gabby enter the room, and he calms down a little. Corbin reveals to him that the legend about the 4 noblemen and the Devil's Apostles is more than just a story, and that his family is tied to it. Blades returns to the bar, where Pavlov and the boss are cuffed on the table. Blades tells them who he is, and they convince him that he needs them to blend with the people in the present. Corbin tells Nolan that the man who attacked him that night is one of the Devil's Apostles. He explains to him that it is his destiny, as he is a descendant of one of the 4 nobles. Some strands of the electric laser guns used on Blade in the earlier encounter are stuck to his jacket. This has a tracking device that allows Corbin to track Blade's location. They hijack the CCTV room, and Nolan and the group can see Blades from Corbin's mansion. The next morning, Gabby freshens up and watches Nolan's training through a laptop with Kate. Nolan is in a large room, all geared up, just like Vickers. Corbin tells him about his duty as a descendant, and the other descendants after him if he falls. Vickers starts sparring with Nolan. Having no proper experience with fighting or sparring, Nolan is pathetically defeated. Vickers is doubting him more and more as he spends more time with him. Corbin dismisses this and urges Nolan to wear the helm. He tells him that he will understand once he puts the helmet on, and assures him that he is in a safe place. Nolan takes the helmet and puts it on. This time, he does not pass out. Instead, he is able to see through Blades' eyes as the boss backup arrives to take down Blades. However, being immortal, this failed attempt at taking him down costs the boss his life. He decides to keep Pavlov alive, since he will still be valuable to him. Nolan takes off the helmet and throws up in a potted plant. Corbin is hopeful that he is getting used to the helm. Vickers criticizes him for doing nothing with his life, making him weak. They get into a heated argument, and Corbin has to stop them. Vickers walks out of the room, as Corbin emphasizes the evil that Nolan will have to face. Corbin reveals that he is also a descendant from one of the four nobles, just a different bloodline. He shows Nolan his helm, and demonstrates the tranquility he must possess in order to wield it. Nolan gives it another try. Now that he is calmer, he can see the movement in the room before it even happens. He spars with Corbin, and when Corbin notices that he is improving, he calls out for Vickers. He immediately enters the room and attacks Nolan, but this time, Nolan is able to deflect him and counterattack. Nolan starts getting hyped up, being able to match Vickers for a while. Vickers gets heated up from all of the jeering, and fights seriously. He beats up Nolan so hard that Corbin has to stop him again. He still believes that Nolan is not worthy, and walks away. Nolan starts believing that he is not worthy, and there are others better than him. Blades prepares makeshift equipments and weapons, utilizing the kitchen equipment at the bar. Meanwhile, Nolan returns to the lounge with Corbin. Gabby checks on him, and he projects his frustrations on her, but apologizes quickly after realizing that it is not her fault. She empathizes with him after she sees what his training was like that afternoon. Corbin reiterates Nolan's connection to the nobleman. His father had prepared him since he was young, and when he passed away, his mother takes on the job of preparing him and giving him the knowledge he needs. The descendants of the four nobles chose him specifically. He and his father are direct descendants of one of the four nobles. His father knew that he would be the protector and had intended to train him, but unfortunately he passed away. His demise was caused by his battle with Lord Dragsmere, the same evil soul that possesses Blades. Nolan makes up his mind that he will not let this evil destroy him. Blades feels that Nolan has finally accepted his destiny and knows that he needs to act fast, while Nolan is not yet ready. He places the corpse of the men he fought in a circle on the floor. And immediately, green smoke oozes out and finds its way into the deceased men, reanimating their bodies. Watching through the CCTV of the bar, Corbin knows that Nolan needs to learn fast, and they must prepare him with all they can. The next day, Nolan is brought to a training grounds. Corbin, Kate, and Gabby watch him through the control room. Vickers presents him with his sword and brings him to the training room to lock him in. He is going to train with Corbin's soldiers, and he needs to get out of the room. Nolan fights each soldier and steadily heads to the next room. With each enemy, he becomes more masterful of his weapon, and his body becomes stronger. Even as his enemies increase, he is able to defeat all of them and reaches a large room. A group of ninjas shows up, and Nolan is now in a tight situation after losing his shield. He is having a hard time dealing with their coordinated attacks. He focuses on his enemies and is able to see and deflect their coordinated attacks. The ninjas suddenly halt and let him pass the room. Nolan enters an obliterated room where enemies sneak up on him. He maintains his focus until he reaches a room holding a prisoner. The man is named Russell Conway. He is not wearing a shirt, and his hair and beard are shaggy. He murdered his wife and kids, earning himself a capital sentence. Vickers shatters another green orb, and the evil soul within it possesses Russell. Nolan cannot believe what Vickers had done. Vickers tries to explain to him that ending Russell's life is the only way to open the Alpha Rift and send the evil souls to purgatory. He believes that Corbin made the right decision in choosing him, so he takes it into his own hands to make sure that Nolan becomes ready. Nolan does not want to harm the chained-up man and refuses to touch Russell. Russell breaks out of his chains, and Nolan has no other choice but to fight him. The man starts overpowering him, until finally, Nolan is able to stab Russell in the heart. The Alpha Rift opens, creating a new green orb, trapping the evil soul inside. After his training, Nolan furiously looks for Corbin and proclaims he does not want to take part in their organization any longer. He and Gabby return to the game shop, where Lewis is waiting for them. Blades and his zombified men break through the door and attacks Nolan and his friends. Nolan tries to fight them, but they will soon be overrun. Vickers and Corbin's men arrive to fight off Blades. They are able to take Nolan and Gabby to safety. However, Vickers is defeated by Blades, and Lewis is taken by his men. Corbin watches what happened to Lewis and Vickers back at the mansion. He knows that there is no point in going back to rescue them. They need help from the other descendants. Nolan thinks that Corbin only cares about the nobles' helms. It turns out that Vickers is his son and another descendant. He becomes furious with worry and Nolan's lack of responsibility. Blades uses Vickers and Lewis as bait to bring out Nolan. He could not harm Vickers because the helmet is protecting him. He turns to Lewis and uses his powers to put him under his control. Nolan senses that Lewis is scared all the way from the mansion. He finally realizes that he is supposed to be the one to fight Lord Dragsmere, that it is his destiny and duty as a descendant of the nobles. Nolan puts his armor on and takes his sword. With Gabby's help, he is able to sneak out of the mansion and take a car to head into Blades' lair. When Corbin finds out where Nolan is heading, he is awestruck at the turn of events. When Nolan arrives at the bar, he is stopped by Corbin's men. Although Corbin is delighted that he came around, he thinks that it is best for him to wait for backup. Nolan ignores his warning and proceeds to storm the building all by himself. Corbin is worried, since the last time someone tried to fight Lord Dragsmere, it was Nolan's father, and although he was successful, it cost him his life. Nolan removes his helmet when he sees Lewis. Suddenly, Blades' men ambush him and get a hold of the helm. He did not have a choice but to fight them without the helmet. But his vision turns into that of his helm, and he is able to stun Blades with the gun. Pavlov decides to switch sides at the very last second and hands Nolan his helm. He puts it on and defeats all of Blades' men. Blades finds Pavlov and ends him for his betrayal. Nolan proceeds to free Vickers, but Blades comes back and fights with him. Blades overpowers him and is about to end him when Corbin and his men arrive. They stall Blades until Vickers is finally free. He and Nolan join forces to fight Blades until Nolan is able to land the final blow and trap him inside the orb. After the battle, Nolan is rightfully anointed as a proper knight, descendant of the nobles.